welcome back to my channel. It's been a couple of weeks since I've seen you guys, and I just wanted to say I hope everyone had a happy holidays and a good start to their new year. Today I'm doing a giant book haul. These are all the books that I've pretty much accumulated in the last couple of months, and most of these books I got for Christmas. So I have a lot of books to show you today. Let's just jump right into it. The first book I wanted to haul is After We Collided by Anna Todd. This is a book that you've seen before, and this is the second book in the After series. I read this book series at the end of September and October, so you've already seen these books. I just haven't included them in a haul yet. This series follows the relationship between Hardin and Tessa. The series basically just follows the ups and downs of their relationship. Tessa is a freshman in college, and Hardin is a couple years older than her. They definitely have an angsty relationship. After We Fell is the third book in this series, and this is the book in the series that's the longest. It's over 800 pages, so it's the book in the series where a lot of the story takes place. After Ever Happy is the fourth and final book in the series, and it concludes Tessa and Hardin's story. This book is a different tone compared to the others in the series. This book is a lot more somber and emotional, given what Tessa experiences at the beginning of this book. Tessa and Hardin actually begin to address some of the problems in their relationship in this book. So we get to see a very evolved Tessa and Hardin. They've definitely been through a lot, and this book is definitely the one that shows growth on both of their parts. Next we have Before. This is the fifth book in the After series, and it's actually a companion to the original series. Most of this book follows the events of After, which is the first book in this series, just from Hardin's point of view. We also get to see different perspectives of some of the side characters throughout this series, and we get to know a little bit more about their backstories. Later on, we also get to see more little scenes of Tessa and Hardin's happy ever after, and we also get to check back in with the friend group, now that Tessa and Hardin are finally together for real, and we get to see some of their opinions about Tessa and Hardin's relationship. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on this book and the series in general, I'll put links to my September wrap-up, October wrap-up down below, in case you guys want to hear more of my in-depth thoughts. The next book I wanted to haul is Forget Me Always by Sarah Wolfe. This is the second book in a YA contemporary trilogy. It's actually one I already read in November. This trilogy follows the relationship between Isis and a guy named Jack. I believe Isis is a freshman in high school, or she might be a sophomore, and Jack is the love interest in this book. Jack is known for having a reputation as the ice prince in their school. He's a very closed-off person, and he's known for not giving high school girls the time of day, so he dates older women. But that all changes when Isis and Jack meet each other. Isis and Jack don't really like each other in the beginning of this trilogy. As the story moves forward, they have an enemies to lovers banter, so they definitely have a fiery chemistry between them, which I loved. This trilogy actually reminded me of Bully by Penelope Douglas. It had the same sort of feel to it in terms of their relationship, but you can definitely tell this is YA. I won't give too much away into their story, but something happened at the end of the last book where Isis got into an accident, so this second book in the trilogy starts where the previous one left off. Because of what happened at the end of the last book, Isis and Jack need to find new ground in their relationship, since the dynamic between them has now changed. I loved this book. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but if you'd like to hear more about it, I'll put a link to my November wrap-up down below, in case you guys want to hear more of my thoughts. I also wanted to mention Remember Me Forever by Sarah Wolfe. This is the third book in the Lovely Vicious trilogy. Isis and Jack have been apart for some time, given the events at the end of the second book, and they need to find her way back to each other. Jack is not the same person that Isis knew when they first met. Jack has been through some things, and he's definitely become a stronger person for it. But he still has some dark things that haunt him. I liked this final book in the trilogy enough, but I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars, since I did have some issues with it, and it didn't quite reach that 4-star level for me. I read this book at the end of November, Sweet Temptation by Wendy Higgins. This is the 4th book in the Sweet Evil series by her, and this is a YA paranormal series. It follows the sons and daughters of fallen angels, and it follows the relationship between Anna and Caden. Anna has always been a good girl, thanks to her angel side, but she's always had a pull towards danger. Caden and Anna in this world are known as Nephilim, and Nephilim are the children of fallen angels. But Anna's different, because most Nephilim have a demon dad and a human mom. But Anna's father was demon, but her mother was an angel. So this makes her a special Nephilim. And through this trilogy, Anna is tasked with ridding the world of demons, so that the demons don't control all the Nephilim's lives, and this allows the Nephilim to make their own decisions. Sweet Temptation is actually a companion to the trilogy. I own Sweet Evil, but I borrowed the rest of the trilogy from the library. But since the library didn't have this companion book, I had to buy it for myself. This book follows the events of the main trilogy just from Caden's point of view. Caden is your typical bad boy who doesn't really know how to show his emotions, and he has a troubled past. He doesn't really have a good relationship with his father. Even though this trilogy is a YA paranormal trilogy, I would say that this 4th book is new adult, since some of Caden's thoughts, especially toward Anna and their relationship, are hotter and naughtier. Now let's get into the books I got for Christmas. The first book I got for Christmas is Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. This is the first book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, and the series is very well known. It's an adult paranormal romance series. I don't know much about this series. All I know is that this book series follows a band of vampire brothers and the people that slay them. This first book follows Wrath, and he is the leader of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. He has a score to settle with the slayers that murdered his parents years ago. But when one of his trusted fighters is killed, that's when things change for him. Now he has to find his half-breed daughter in an orphanage and let her know of her heritage and open her up to this world. I've heard that this book series is just amazing. A lot of people who read more adult paranormal books swear by this series. I've heard that the first book in this series is not the best, but that each book in this series gets better and better and better with each book. And that this book series is long and it always keeps growing, so I'm looking forward to eventually starting it in the future. I want to get onto the Black Dagger Brotherhood train. The next book I got for Christmas is Grave Witch by Kalena Price. This is the first book in an urban fantasy series. It follows this girl named Alex Kraft, who works with the police investigating paranormal murders. Alex is on good terms with Death, and apparently Death looks good in jeans. But then Alex is attacked during her latest case. Alex is attacked by a shade she's rising, but this should be impossible. Alex works with a human detective named Fallon Andrews, and she needs to navigate the web of paranormal politics. But the thing is, Alex's life may be at stake, and it could cost her her soul. I've heard that this urban fantasy series is quite popular, so hopefully I like it. Next up, I have Stray by Rachel Vincent. This is the first book in another urban fantasy series, and it follows this girl who looks like a grad student, but she's really a werecat. She's escaped her werecat family in order to create a normal life for herself, but things change when someone from her clan is attacked. The main character has heard of strays, and strays are werecats without pride. This attack has summoned her back to her clan in order to find what's going on and avenge this person's murder. I've heard great things about this series, and that it's really good. Sam from Thoughts on Tomes likes this series, so hopefully I will too. I haven't really read much urban fantasy, but maybe it's a genre I'll get into this year, in 2019. The next book I wanted to talk about is Moon Called by Patricia Briggs. This is the first book in another urban fantasy series. The main character's name is Mercy Thompson. She has a next-door neighbor that's a werewolf, and she works as a mechanic. She's fixing a car for a vampire. Marcy has always had a connection to things that go bump in the night, but this connection that she has with these creatures is about to get her in trouble. I don't really know much about this series. All I know is that it's a popular fantasy series, and it's often recommended if you want to get into urban fantasy. Next up, I have Nightshade by Michelle Rowan. This is the first book in an adult paranormal romance duology. It might be urban fantasy, but I think it's more of a paranormal romance. This book follows the main character, Jill Conrad, who's never believed in vampires. The love interest, Declan Reese, is a half-vampire, and he knows that Jill is the key to killing vampires and the rest of the undead kingdom. But now that Jill has the serum in her body, her blood makes her irresistible to all vampires, including Declan. Now, Jill is in a situation she never wanted to be in. I'm not sure if this book is good or not, but it sounded interesting to me. Michelle Rowan is actually Morgan Rhodes, and Morgan Rhodes wrote the Fallen Kingdom series, but I think she wrote under a different name because this is more new adult than YA. Next up, I have Consider Phoebus. This is the first book in an adult science fiction series. I heard about this series through Books with Emily Fox. She picked up this book, and apparently this series is popular and it's a really good space opera. So if I ever want to get into space opera, this is definitely one of the first series I'm going to check out. I don't really know much about this series except that there was this war that killed many humans and created destruction into like everything on Earth. This war is between the culture and the Adirians. I think the Adirians are some kind of aliens, but I'm not sure. This series isn't a direct series, it's more of a series of companion novels, so you can read them in any order, but I most likely will read this first one first. Next up, I have Paper Princess. This was one of the books on my Christmas wish list. This is the first book in the Royal series by Aaron Watt. This is actually a young adult series, but it definitely reads like new adult. This book and this series in general has been all over BookTube for many months now, and I haven't read this series yet. You probably already know what this series is about, but if you don't, this first book follows this girl named Ella Harper, who's lost and doesn't really know what to do with her life after losing her mother. She's rescued by a man named Callum Reed, who takes her out of poverty and sends her to live with his 5 sons in a mansion. And Ella doesn't really feel like she belongs there, especially since she doesn't really like one of the royal brothers named Reed. Reed wants nothing to do with Ella and thinks that she should go back to where she belongs. But as the story progresses, Reed and Ella develop feelings for each other. I've heard that the series in general is filled with a lot of ups and downs and a lot of juicy drama, so hopefully I like this series. Next up, I have Collide by Gail McHugh. This is the first book in a new adult romance duet. On the heels of her college graduation and after the unexpected death of her mother, Emily Cooper moves to New York City with her boyfriend for a fresh start. Her boyfriend, Dylan Parker, has always been sweet and thoughtful, and he's there to be with Emily to help her grieve through the loss. But then Emily meets Gavin Blake. After their brief encounter, Emily can't get Gavin out of her head, and it seems that their encounter has reignited Emily's senses. When their paths cross again, Emily needs to decide who she wants to be with. The choice that she makes or the risk that she takes will destroy everyone. I've heard amazing things about this duet, and that the relationship is angsty. I love angsty romances, so I'm sure I'm going to love this one. Next up, I have Anti-Stepbrother by Tijan. This book is a new adult romance standalone, and it follows this girl who's going to college with her stepbrother, and she starts to fall for her stepbrother's best friend, who's known as the Anti-Stepbrother. I've never read a book by Tijan before, but I've heard really good things about this book. And once I saw this cover, I couldn't resist. I knew I had to get a physical copy. The next book I have here is True by Erin McCarthy. This is the first book in a new adult romance series, and this is a companion series, so each book in this series follows a different couple. This book follows the relationship of Tyler and Rory. Rory's a sophomore in college who's never had sex with anyone. She's always been a quiet and shy girl who's really focused on her studies since she's determined to become a doctor. She's never really wanted anything to do with guys, and because she's smart and nerdy, no guys have ever really noticed her. When Rory accidentally lets it slip after a party one night that she's never had sex, her roommates decide that they would recruit someone to help get the job done. Tyler is a bad boy who insists that he's not really the right type of guy for Rory. But underneath his bad boy image, he has a sweet side underneath, and he definitely has a part of his life that not everyone sees or understands. I liked this book. I read it in December, but you'll hear more of my thoughts on this book in my December wrap-up. Next up, I have Sweet by Erin McCarthy. This is the second book in the True Believers series, and it follows the relationship between Jessica, one of Rory's best friends, and Riley Mann, Tyler's older brother. I also read this book in December, and I liked it more than the first one. But again, you'll hear more of my thoughts about this book in my December wrap-up. The next book I wanted to mention is actually an ebook, and that is Fearless by Bridget Kremer. This is book 1.5 in the Elemental series. I read the first book, Storm, in October, and I liked it. I was immediately attached by this family of brothers, and I knew I wanted to hear more of their stories, so I wanted to continue the series. This little novella follows Hunter, which is one of the characters from the previous book in the series. This novella follows him before he moved to town, and when his dad and uncle was still alive. So this little novella follows his life a few years before we meet him in Storm. The next book I got for Christmas is Spark by Bridget Kremer. This is book 2 in the Elemental series. And this series is a YA paranormal fantasy series, by the way. This book follows Gabriel and his relationship with a girl named Lane. Gabriel is the arrogant brother in the family, and the one who always seems to be getting into trouble. The reason why his series is the Elemental series is because each brother in this family can control one of the elements. They're what's known in this world as being true elementals, and Gabriel controls the fire element. I really liked Gabriel. He's definitely a bad boy, but he has a sweet side underneath. Gabriel is definitely my favorite brother in this series. I read this book in December. You'll hear more of my thoughts in my wrap-up. The next book I wanted to mention is Breathless. This is book 2.5 in the Elemental series, and it follows Nick. Nick has always been the peacekeeper in his family, the kind and nice brother, the one who always keeps all of the brothers in check. However, Nick discovers something about himself that he's never really acknowledged before, and something that none of his brothers know, not even his twin, Gabriel. I really enjoyed this little novella about Nick. Nick discovers that he's gay, and that he might have feelings for this guy named Adam. Next up, I have Spirit by Bridget Kremer. This is book 3 in the Elemental series, and it follows Hunter. Hunter Garrity is what's known as a fifth. He can control the fifth element, spirit. Because he has this ability, people are always drawn to him. Hunter has been trained all his life to be a guide, and guides in this world fulfill their purpose of destroying elementals, since they believe that they're not meant to be in the world and that they have too much power, and that they believe that elementals can use this power to destroy people. But everything that Hunter has come to believe is questioned in this book, since he's struck up a friendship with Gabriel, and since he gets closer to the Merricks in this book. I liked this book, but not more than the previous one. I'll have more of my thoughts in my December wrap-up. Next up, I have Secret by Bridget Kremer. This is Nick's full-length novel, and we get to see more of his romance with Adam in this book. We get to see how Nick's relationship with Quinn has changed, since Nick has always been dating Quinn before he started realizing his feelings for Adam. We get to see what Nick and Adam's relationship is like. We also get to learn more about Quinn in this book, and who she starts a relationship with. I read this book in December, and I really enjoyed it. The final book that I got for Christmas is Sacrifice by Bridget Kremer. This is the 5th and final book in this series. I did like this finale, but I was disappointed with it as well. But I'll go more into detail about it in my wrap-up. These are all the physical books that I've accumulated over the past few months, and all the books that I got for Christmas. I hope you guys enjoyed this book haul. If you want to see more videos from me, I'll put some videos up on the screen in case you guys want to check those out. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. I'll see you guys in my next one.